Today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious homemade gravy in less than half the time using one simple trick. So let's get started. Hello everybody, Chef Bob here today, and I'm going to show you how to make holiday gravy in less than half the time using a simple trick. We're going to make a simple roux-based gravy which consists of butter and flour. And one of the rule of thumbs to remember is when making a simple roux is to use equal ratios by weight. So I'm going to use 1 stick of butter, and I weighed it and it comes out to approximately 114 grams. So I measured the same amount of flour by weight. You can use ounces or whatever. I just happen to use a gram scale to be a little more precise. So right now I have my induction cooker preheated to 325, and I started to melt a stick of butter. Let me just let this heat back up a little bit. And this is how you make any roux-based sauce if you're going to make, say, a macaroni and cheese sauce or anything with the roux. You use a type of oil or fat, such as in this case butter, or you can use a lard, a bacon fat, turkey fat, chicken fat, whatever you want. I'll use butter, and then you can use something like flour as your thickening agent. It's always a 1-to-1 by weight ratio. Now I have the induction cooker again, as I said, set to 325. You can see we have our butter going, so I'm going to slowly stir in this flour. Okay. So you just stir it in. What you want to do is you want to brown it, is what you're trying to do. Let me slide this over here. And just get it all incorporated. Making a little bit of a mess here. Now the different stages, if you hear people talk about blonde roux, dark roux, the initial stage when it's just incorporated, such as right about where we're at now, we're getting close to just what you'd call the blonde roux stage. And blonde, as this like it implies, it's the color of the roux. And if you're going to make a milk sauce, a light cream sauce, you want to go too much further than this point. You'd stop. You just want to see that it's actually going to turn slightly lighter in color. And that's where we would stop for a light roux. We're going to go just a little bit darker to, say, a light brown roux. And this is what we're going to use to make, say, turkey gravy for Thanksgiving. Or if you're making roast chicken, you just want some chicken gravy for chicken and waffles. Now there's a trick coming up here. Right now, this is just, you know, your classical way to do it. And it would be time consuming, say, on the Thanksgiving day when you're very busy. You have the turkey going, maybe you have some pies, some sweet potatoes, some vegetables. And you're very busy, and you know, trying to do this and keep an eye on any other things, you might burn this, or it's just time consuming. So I'm going to show you a trick how to avoid doing this step when you make your gravy for the holidays. So I'll bring you back here in another minute or so when this darkens up. But this is all you keep doing. I'm just going to keep stirring this until it gets a little more tan colored or a light brown. So I'll bring it back here in about a minute or two. Okay, so this is about where I want it. As you see, it's gotten a little, you know, darker colored, like a tan or a light brown color, and you can start to smell it. That's how you know when you're getting there. I can start to smell the roasting like you're making toast in the toaster. And let me turn this off because it'll start to darken up very quickly, which is okay. That's just adding more flavor. You pull this off of here. Now, if I were doing this the classical way, you make this as you're going to make your gravy at the same point in time, and I would pour in my cup, a cup or two, whatever you have of your hot broth from your turkey, your chicken, ham, beef roast, whatever type of gravy you're going to make. But in this case, here's the magic trick, is to make it ahead of time. So you make this, say, the night before, 2 days before, a week before, even a month before, and I'm going to show you how you can do that. So you make this, And then what you do is, now this is very hot, so be careful not to get this on you. The hot fats in here, the hot butter will really cause a bad burn. So I'm using little mini loaf pans, and I'm just putting them on a little protector, a little cast iron trivet here to protect my counter, because this is very hot. So what you do is you'll just portion this out. You can use loaf pans, a little, whatever type of heat-proof dish you want. Heat-proof and freezer-proof, and that is the key to my trick. I'm sorry, I have the back of the pan here to the camera. Sorry about that, but let me finish scooping this out. So what I have here, as you see, is I have our hot, can you pick it up on the camera? There we go. I have our little hot roux in here in these little mini loaf pans. So I'll let this cool a little bit here at room temperature. I'll put it in the refrigerator. Then once it cools some more, I'm going to put it in the freezer. And I'm going to show you what we do when we pull it out of the freezer. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've just come back from the freezer. Now I have here, this is starting to cool off pretty good on this cast iron trivet. It works great for cooling things off. So that's our hot roux, and this is what it looks like after you refrigerate it and then put it in the freezer for a couple of hours. It's frozen solid in here. All you do is you knock it out on your cutting board and cut it into squares, and it should look like this, just little squares of frozen roux. And you can see they're what, maybe 1-inch squares. And then you just put them in a container and put them in the freezer. So you can use these anytime. They can be in there for, you know, a couple of months without a problem. So what you do is you like I said, heat like that, refrigerate it, freeze it, cut it into squares. So now, on the holidays or whenever you want your instant homemade gravy, you don't have to go through the roux making step. All you do is you take your hot broth or liquids, and one way to do that is I just have, I think it's some turkey broth they had, and what you do is you can use a fat separator if you want to get some of the fats out, and make sure that it cools down a little bit. This is cooled somewhat. So I'm just going to pour this in the fat separator. I believe I've already taken off most of the fat, but I'm just showing you how to do this. So if you pulled your turkey out for Thanksgiving, you have it. If you can get the broth, put it in a pan on a trivet or something, let it cool a little bit so you don't, I just said to cool it so you don't hurt your separator depending on what it's made out of. You don't want to melt your plastic parts of your separator. So now this is simple. There's on this one it's just trigger activated, and I want a cup of the turkey broth to make our gravy, just for the example. And you can make as much as you want. So it's as simple as this. I'm just pulling down on a trigger. I have a cup. The fat's at the top, and you would, if you want to make empty it out, you would go all the way down till you see the fat level, and you would stop at the trigger because you don't want the excess fats in your gravy. So that's how you would use the fat separator. So now I'm going to put this in this pot, get this started. Now I'm going to go to about 325, just like we did when we were making the roux. There we go. So we are at 325. Give this about half a minute to heat up, and let me get this out of the way. I'll be right back. Okay, it's been about a minute. I've cleaned up and I have our broth. I've reheated it so it's starting to bubble again because it had cooled down for the fat separator. Now it's simple. What you'll do is you'll just take as many cubes of roux as you want to make it thick. So for 1 cup I'm going to put at least 2. Mine take 3 depending how thick you want to make it. So we have our hot liquid and our cold roux cubes. And this should thicken up nicely. Now I know this isn't much liquid, this is for demonstration purpose. I just wanted to make a little quantity so you can see how easy it is. I'm using the larger pan so I don't spill it all over, and so it's easier for you to see it in the camera. So these are frozen solid, so it's going to take a minute or 2 to dissolve. But you'll see as it dissolves, this is going to thicken up almost instantly. So now you've saved all that time. You're not cooking up the flour, the butter on Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, Easter, holidays, whatever, celebrations, birthdays, or just for Sunday dinner, you're saving that time. So when you have time, you can just make a big batch of that roux. I only made a little quantity. You can make a much larger quantity. This is starting to look pretty good, and I'll show you how this thickens up. So that was 1 cup. You saw me measure out approximately 1 cup of the turkey broth, and I used 2 squares. Now if you like your gravy really thick, you can put in 3, 4, Or if you like it thinner, just put 1. If you just want to have a little bit of thickness to it, just put 1 cube. So now, it was much easier for me to have the hot broth, pull that out. I'm not babysitting the roux. Now you should be able to see this. This looks great. And I'll show you on the back of a spoon here how nice and thick it is. I think you should be able to see that on the camera. I'll just do that. You can see I made that nice gravy film on there. Let me do that again for you. See how we have that nice thick gravy film? This is a very nice gravy consistency. We'll turn this off. Oh, I almost forgot. I had some pre-seasonings in this broth, so I didn't need to add it. But as you're making this, don't forget to add your seasonings. Add a little bit of salt. I mean, this is if you don't have any seasonings in your broth. This turkey broth was made with the turkey, so the seasonings from the turkey are already in the broth. But if you didn't have seasonings in there, it was just out of a can. Turkey or chicken broth or bouillon, you know, feel free to add some salt and pepper like that. And maybe some pre-mixed poultry seasoning, which is usually a combination of maybe sage, thyme, sometimes a little coriander. So you can just put a little bit of poultry seasoning or sage in there. A little bit of onion powder, maybe if you want some onion flavor. And actually, I should have the whisk here. And then you would whisk that in also, right? So add your spices to your gravy. Like I said, mine was already pre-seasoned, so I didn't do that when I was cooking it. But just add your spices in here. And naturally, you'd want to taste it as you're adding. Just add a little bit of spice at a time. Again, poultry seasoning, onion powder, salt, pepper. If you don't have poultry seasoning, sage is probably the primary ingredient for poultry. Maybe rosemary if you're making a beef gravy. So now, I'll just pour this in the bowl. I'll show you one more time how nice and thick it is, and I'll do a little taste. And as this cools a little bit, it'll thicken even more. But can you see? That's perfect gravy. And it's very simple. We just had to put the cold roux cubes into the hot broth. Let me grab a spoon and we'll do a quick taste. This is going to be very hot. Very good. So like I said, at the end I added the seasonings because it was pre-seasoned. I should have shown you at the beginning when I started to cook it. Don't forget to add your seasonings to your gravy. And there you have it. A way to make very quick, homemade holiday gravy without all the hustle and bustle of making the roux at the same time using our frozen roux cubes. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more like it, please subscribe to my channel. Click the thumbs up, like buttons, and there's a little bell for notification. If you click that, you'll be notified every time I make a new video. So again, thank you for watching and have happy holidays, happy celebration. And whenever you're making gravy, please use this trick. You'll really like it. It'll save you a lot of time and frustration. Thank you for watching. This is a great trick. Very, very good gravy.